This may not be your Springfield, this may not be your Riverside, but this is home for people, and people want to be good neighbors.
No matter where you live, no matter what part of town, no neighborhood is immune to the problem of abandoned homes.
The good news for Florida, foreclosed homes are at their lowest levels since before the economic crisis of 2008. The bad news, as of December, Florida is still among the top 4 states with the most foreclosures. Now, when a home is foreclosed upon, it's often abandoned, but most are repurchased after a couple of years. So why is a nearly $1 million home still standing almost 8 years after the power was shut off?
Channel 4's Stacey Spanos has more on this investigation that's frustrating neighbors and looks into other neighborhoods where abandoned homes are causing even bigger problems. Stacey?
That's right, Tarek and Joy. When a home is abandoned, the grass grows high, the house falls into disrepair. Sometimes people break in. If you own a home on that street, you or your neighbors often pay to maintain it. Well, imagine doing that for years. Like the case of one very expensive home in Queens Harbor Yacht and Country Club. This is the view from its backyard. This is what it looks like from the front. But take a closer look. It looks pretty nice.
Yeah, so driving by the home, you may not notice that anything was wrong until you notice that there is rot starting to happen around the garage doors. And then you can see up in the corner here where we must have missed some of the power washing, but there's mold here.
That's Dana Perry. She's lived next door to this abandoned property for 6.5 years. And over those years, she says she and another neighbor have paid out of their own pockets to keep this house looking good.
We've expended, both of us, money into trimming trees, bushes, power washing the home.
How much money would you estimate that you have spent trying to keep this home looking in good condition?
More than $1,000, easily.
Over the course of our investigation, we shot this video at the home in December.
It's supposed to be locked.
And at the time, we're able to do this. Simply walk right in through the front doors. There were no signs warning us not to trespass. The home is assessed at $900,000 by the property appraiser's office. But it's missing fixtures, reeks of mold, and even more alarming,
All this is unlocked. People can go out to the pool.
when we saw the pool out back, it was covered with a sagging tarp, and the screen around it was tattered. But Perry said it was uncovered for years until she notified the city last year.
That house should have the same regulations that we have. Whether the bank pays for it or the owner pays for it, it shouldn't just be left, you know, unkept. I don't know how they can enforce any rules on any other home in the neighborhood if they allow that one to look that way.
So how well do you know this neighborhood?
Whew. I've lived here on and off since 1957.
Across town off Boulevard near the MLK Expressway, Beverly Clark is fighting the same fight. In her neighborhood, several homes have been sitting vacant for years, with neighbors again paying the maintenance.
If the neighbor across the street comes over here and cut this grass, if he cuts the grass, that means that he's had to buy extra grass. You have to take a dime and make sure you stretch it to do what a dollar does, and that's not fair.
But Clark says a bigger problem is who is attracted to abandoned homes, drug dealers and prostitutes. She says the house that used to stand on this corner housed both. It was also where school kids waited for the bus. The city eventually tore it down.
What's it like when a home goes into foreclosure or is abandoned or left vacant? What happens to a neighborhood sometimes?
As you can see, it becomes very disruptive, and your neighbors have to watch out for things that are not theirs, and there's basically nothing that you can do about it except for continuously complain.
Clark says complaining has led to more houses being torn down, but change is slow. Dana Perry feels like her complaining to the Queens Harbor Property Owners Association has led nowhere. We talked to the president of the association, and she told me by phone they're frustrated about the house and they're working on it. The owner of the house went to prison in 2009 for mortgage fraud. He served his time, but the house, years later, is still unoccupied.
Just sitting there, waiting until the banks get around to sell them.
UNF economics professor Paul Mason says banks can take a long time reselling vacant properties. Either they're waiting for the value of the house to go higher, or because they only process a certain amount each month. For those who live next door to such a property, he advises to take matters into your own hands, as much as that's possible.
I would take it to heart and try and work privately to motivate the bank to make it available for sale if they haven't. And if they have made it available for sale, see if you can find a buyer.
Now, as Dr. Mason says, if you have an abandoned home in your neighborhood, you have to do a lot of legwork on your own to get action. First, call your city code enforcement to file a complaint. If you don't know who owns the home, log on to the property appraiser's website. Then go to the county clerk's website, type in that homeowner's name. If the house is in foreclosure, you will find out there. And if it is in foreclosure, you can find out the bank that owns it or has a mortgage on it and reach out to it. But as Dana Perry and Beverly Clark have found out, it can be a frustrating process, and you are often at the mercy of the banks or the process the city has to go through in order to condemn a home.
What about those houses that, are in really bad shape, those ones that really should be torn down? What can people do who live in those neighborhoods?
Beverly Clark battles that almost every day. She and the people in her neighborhood organization contact the city. Last year, the city of Jacksonville actually passed a law that allows them to expedite the process to demolish these condemned homes and also get rid of the blight. And they've been on a fast track with that ever since. There were a lot of empty lots in the neighborhood we were at today, so that's good news.
Get involved, do something to help keep your own neighborhood safe.
You've got to.
Right? Stacey Spanos, thank you.